the ultra-wealthy hurt a nation's GDP. Conclusion. Perhaps this series should have been titled, How the Ultra-Wealthy Hurt a Nation, period. This alternative title would have highlighted the fact that there are far more important metrics than the gross domestic product of a nation, especially when considering a nation's real strength. As an example, the Roman Empire may have had the greatest gross domestic product of its time, but collapsed nonetheless. Why? While many reasons are given, one might look at the inequality that festered and grew as the empire spread to lands so remote as to have little to no wealth to replenish the Roman treasury. It was then that the extraction of wealth plateaued. Rome could no longer fill the coffers of its wealthy benefactors, so it could no longer rely on their support in its times of need. In the end, what was one of the empire's greatest strengths, faith, evaporated. Faith in the empire waned, then disappeared, if not completely enough so that its enemies overwhelmed and destroyed it. Like the Roman Empire, a modern nation, too, relies on the acceptance by enough of its citizens that their nation deserves to exist. A nation requires this because it inherently needs its citizenry to defend it and its right to exist. Never has a nation in which no one believed existed, and never has a nation continued to stand when too few of its citizens continued to believe in its right to exist. As the wealth in America is confiscated by a smaller group of individuals, groups, or entities, fewer Americans will have faith in the nation they call home. If their nation allows most of the wealth and resources to go to an ever-shrinking number of people, why would they support that nation? If the wealthy are getting a growing percentage of the gross domestic product, why would those who aren't getting enough to survive defend such a system? As the saying goes, do as the Romans do. A phrase to which America's leadership seems to be abiding as the United States moves towards a collapse similar to that which has occurred to every empire to date.
Uncle Sam is dancing on your grave.
When your nation gives most of the money produced within its borders to 1% of its citizens, what recourse do the remaining citizens have but to turn their collective backs on it? Or worse, when a nation stops providing the resources necessary for the survival of its people, what should be expected of those who wish to survive? Abandon your people, and they will abandon you. The means by which a nation kills its citizens matters little in the end, whether through starvation, poisonous water, exposure, gain-of-function research, endless wars, or P. Diddy, the masses will eventually decide to rise up against those who are the source of their misery. This is why I don't prescribe to the false notion that the rich are more ambitious or smarter. I think a more accurate description would be that the rich are more greedy and not so smart as their actions will not only lead to the downfall of the poor, the middle class, and even other rich people, but their incessant hoarding of resources will also lead to their own downfall and or demise. While I believe we must all prepare for what's becoming more evident as time passes, I'm not hoarding resources to the point it impacts millions of lives. Are you?
Like this, Booger? You mean this much to me?
There are plenty of people reporting and complaining about our leaders and their failures. How many, however, are offering or even pointing to any solutions? The book, Solutions. Enough Complaining. Let's Fix America by Chris Osman does and can be found on Amazon or at www.mikesonsentertainment.com. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the posts on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check into this blog daily to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future. If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man-made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provides solutions, offered up from himself and others, to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real-world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book, titled Solutions, Enough Complaining! Let's Fix America offers a means to hold leaders up, not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. Where will the rich go once they've turned the entire planet into one giant ghetto? Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.